What an beautiful information.
Congratulations.
Beautiful information is conveyed to all the students.
See, there are 3 to 4 minutes till we need to go, and there is no topic at all.
Most,
And then,
actually, what happens? Most of the students now in tension. What will happen? You have given tension to the students.
Sir. Raja sir is going to be serious.
Okay. Rajat sir is not so serious.
Nothing. I also observed the peacock's feather at Obijit's. It was
That's
wonderful.
why I asked.
It's my missus.
Bridges sir. Bridges sir.
Time is going.
Bridges sir. Are you listening?
No, he is not listening.
No, he will intimate you, sir.
Actually, I just want to confirm when he will be going on broadcast mode. At least inform us.
That's why you can stop our other topic.
And second thing, at least we plan accordingly.
Right, sir.
I think this close button will become on. So that can be the indication that we are live.
Yeah, that is what he told. I'll give you a sign. So that is the close button.
Time is half an hour, na?
Yes, sir. Half an hour to both these.
Okay.
Purav sir, at the time, whether it has been started or
ના ફેસબુક લાઈવ નથી સર હજી નથી ફેસબુક લાઈવ
27. It is right now 2:27. 3 minutes to go.
अच्छा 3 minutes है. 3 minutes is sufficient. क्या है ना मैडम, खाना खा सकते हैं.
पांडा साहब लंच ले लिया ना आपने?
अरे मैं लॉन्च लेके सबको पूछ लिया, सब लोग ले लिया एक्सेप्ट टीना मैडम. नहीं, I have taken.
Program was conducted by Teachers Training Director for Parul University. So that was during 2 to 4 p.m. Probably it was for the faculty of JNHMC and PAHR. Shortly it will be for AHMC and RHMC too.
What?
There was a pedagogy session from Teachers Training Director Dr. Devyani Pandit and Dr. Chaya Iyer. That was
sessions are already taken. 2 sessions are taken. One is of English speaking and one is of music.
Okay, so
taken for our college.
Okay, so it has already been done.
Yeah.
But yesterday we had that session, and Panda sir just missed the lunch because of that.
Because of you, not because of that webinar. You have not slept me to take the launch. Yes, I am seeing the Facebook. It has not appeared. Again, put 1 minute sit there, ne? Live.
I think that yes, we are live now. So let's begin the session. We all are live now. So let me start the today's webinar. Good afternoon, one and all. Honeymanian greetings to all of you. Myself, Dr. Purav Desai, Dean, Faculty of Homeopathy, Parul University, and Principal of Jawaharlal Nehru Homeopathic Medical College. Dear all, as per our commitment, we are coming to you with a series of webinars. We call the eminent personalities of homeopathic world on the board. Such topics which are the need of the time. At Parul University, there are 16 diverse faculties are functioning, and all of them are regularly conducting the series of webinars by calling distinguished personality from the respective fields. The Faculty of Homeopathy is equally active in this drive. I am glad to share with you that till today we could organize 5 successful webinars, and now coming to you with the 6th one. Due to this pandemic COVID-19, the rhythm of routine practices have entirely been disturbed and the uncertainty is still persisting. This is just reminding me the quote that everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. So let's be flexible and adopt the changing pattern of the globe. As per the directives of the President, Dr. Devanshu Patel, the staff members and the students of Faculty Homeopathy has taken up the new teaching and learning modalities, and now we all do through e-learning mode. Our working force also amplified by the Director Paramedicals of Parul University, Dr. Komal Patel Madam, and the list of other notable officials. Our efforts are not constrained to ourselves, but we wish that the entire fraternity shall join with us in this great voyage. We are a unit of 4 colleges, JNHMC, that is Jawaharlal Nehru Homeopathic Medical College, and Parul Institute of Homeopathy and Research are located at Vadodara. Ahmedabad Homeopathic College is at Ahmedabad, and Rajkot Homeopathic College is Rajkot. Our aims are to start the moon, which is not possible single-handed. So we follow the quotation of Helen Keller that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. With the joint and collective efforts of our team, we could add the feathers of NABH accreditation to crown of all the IELTS college hospitals of Parul University. The leaders of our team could excel the prominent positions like empaneled in the recognized accreditation panels of NAB and NAC. Mutually, we could organize successfully national seminars on homeopathy on annual basis. We could conduct workshops, ROTPs, homeopathy, and many more outstanding programs. Credit goes to the management of Parul University for constant motivation of us for doing such magnanimous events. The story of our journey is infinite. So let me switch off it here and introduce you the first team member of our unit, Dr. B.P. Panda sir, to do the welcome address on behalf of Parul University for today's webinar. Dr. B.P. Panda sir is a principal of Parul Institute of Homeopathy and Research, Vadodara. He is a professor in Department of Organon of Medicines, member of Board of Studies at Parul University, ex-BOS member of Saurashtra University, and NEC peer committee member. I request him to do the welcome address of today's webinar. Over to Dr. B.P. Panda sir.
Thank you, Dr. Purav sir. As we know that Kolkata is the hub of homeopathy in India, it is a matter of great pleasure that both of the international famous eminent speakers of our 6th webinar are from the same city. On behalf of Homeopathic Faculty of Parul University, I feel honored and proud to welcome our speakers of the today's webinar, Dr. Abhijit Chattopadhyay sir and Dr. Rajat Chattopadhyay sir, for their august presence to share with us their vast clinical experience in burning health problem that is very often faced by every medical professional in day-to-day practice, common respiratory problems and its homeopathic management. I extend my gratitude and heartily welcome all principals of Constituent Homeopathic Institute of Parul University for hosting this webinar. I welcome all the students, faculty members and other viewers, those who have joined with this webinar to make it a success one. I welcome Mr. Brijesh Acharya, his team and the entire support system of Parul University for their constant support. I welcome with regards Dr. Devanshu Patel sir, the President of Parul University, Dr. Komal Patel Madam, Director Medical and Paramedical Institute of Parul University, for the constant motivation and providing this platform for our homeopathic faculty to conduct the series of webinars to enrich the knowledge of our fraternity. Thank you very much. Over to Purab sir.
Thank you, Dr. Panda sir. Now I'm introducing you the second team member of our unit, Dr. Hina Rawal Madam. She is the principal of Ahmedabad Homeopathic Medical College, professor in Department of Organon of Medicine, chairperson of Board of Study at Parul University, former member of Central Council of Homeopathy in New Delhi, and MPanel assessor of NABH and NAC. I request her to give brief introduction about the speakers of today's webinar. Over to Dr. Hina Rawal Madam.
Thank you, Dr. Purab sir. A very good afternoon to all the viewers of today's webinar. It's a privilege and honor to introduce the esteemed speakers of today to the learned audience of the webinar. To begin with, I start with Dr. Abhijit Chattopadhyay. He was the former director of National Institute of Homeopathy, Kolkata. Sir gained his bachelor degree from Kolkata University. He did his post-graduation in the subject of Materia Medica. Presently, he is pursuing PhD and he is a PhD scholar at Parul University. Sir is a professor and the head of the Department of Materia Medica at National Institute of Homeopathy, Kolkata. He has a total teaching experience of 32 years in the subject of Materia Medica. Sir is an examiner as well as a paper setter at various universities nationally. It's a pleasure to have such a sound academician, a clinician, and it is a pleasure to hear from him directly today. So I welcome Sir for his presentation. Over to Dr. Abhijit Chattopadhyay, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I am very much thankful to Dr. Purab Desai, who is the Dean of the Parul University, a young, energetic, and very, very successful person in our field. Next, Dr. B.P. Panda, sir, Principal, Parul Homeopathic Medical College. I am very thankful to him also for giving me the opportunity to be here and sharing my just poor knowledge to you. And then Dr. Hina Rawal ma'am, Principal, Ahmedabad Homeopathic Medical College. Then most I like to congratulate and most thankful to Devanshu Patel sir and Komal ma'am for arranging such type of webinar for thinking the whole homeopathic fraternity of India. And lastly, Dr. Mehta sir, thank you sir, and Mr. Dr. Brijesh Acharya, who have arranged all these things at a time. Now, why this topic was chosen? This topic was chosen because nowadays we are all having fear of COVID-19. It's a very minute virus which can stop the whole world. We have seen. We are seeing also. So, first of all, I am very much thankful to Dr. Purab Desai, who is the
Abhijit sir, please unmute yourself.
Abhijit sir, your microphone is on mute mode. Kindly do it unmute.
Audible now?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. Now you are
Okay.
audible.
so why we have chosen this topic? Because every person in India as well as world, we are now afraid of this coronavirus, COVID-19, because it's a very minute virus can stop the world. Because viruses are probably the most common cause of infectious disease acquired within indoor environments and have considerable impact on the human health. We all know, ranging from severe life-threatening illness to relatively mild and self-limiting or asymptomatic diseases. In particular, viruses causing gastrointestinal and respiratory diseases spread rapidly in the community and cause considerable morbidity. Viruses are spread easily through closed environments such as home, school, workplace, transport system. That's why in this COVID-19 leads us to have this lockdown. First of all, they stop schools, allow every person to be in the home, not to go to their workplace, and stop the transport system. Although many of the respiratory and gastrointestinal infections caused by viruses can be asymptomatic or relatively mild and self-limiting, it may so happen we have seen that a lot of cases nowadays are asymptomatic. We are afraid of that. The person is asymptomatic. If the person just touch me, though the person is asymptomatic, I may be affected by that person because the person is the carrier one. And still they are represent a significant economic burden. Include not only the immune compromised, but also the elderly neonates, pregnant women, hospital patients discharged into the community, individuals using immunosuppressive drug. You know that the immunosuppressive drug loses the immunity, and also those using invasive system. They're just catheters. It was indwelled and that is being taken out. That also may cause infection, or inhalation systems or devices. Otherwise, healthy family members with asthma or allergies also have increased susceptibility to infection. That's why nowadays it is told that the aged more than 60, 65 and children, those are very much susceptible to the coronavirus, and the aged persons also having some comorbidity which accelerates that disease, and usually the patient died and dying due to this comorbidity. Those are having sugar, pressure, or any sort of heart diseases. They are also being very much susceptible to this coronavirus, and morbidity rate is more in those cases who are having this sort of diseases like hypertension, hyperglycemia, or any heart disease. Another factor to infect its host, a virus must, how it enters the cell as the body surface. Common sites of its entry include the mucosal lining of the respiratory, alimentary, and urogenital tracts, the outer surface of the eyes. That's why it is always advised, wash your hand at least 20 to 30 minutes and do not touch these surfaces, because the outer surface is very much susceptible to have this infection. So do not touch your nose, do not touch your mouth, do not touch your eyes. These are the areas through which this virus enters in our body. Among the factors that affects the infection are virus dependent factors, that is the virulence, measuring viral virulence, and the amount of inoculation, speed of replication, viral spread, with virulent genes, and host dependent factors and environmental factors. That means we all know the virus in the environment does not have either life or it is death. But as soon as it comes in our body surface, enter into our body through our surface or enter into the cell, it get its life. And this is the favorable condition for which the virus is able to multiply in our body and tries to produce its infection. Now, these infections are caused by influenza virus, rhinovirus, coronavirus. We have heard the name of the coronavirus earlier also, but in 19, the strength of this virus is so high, it was not earlier. And another virus, a respiratory syncytial virus, that which is I call RSVs, are a major health burden. Estimates suggest that adults suffer 2 to 5 colds per year, we know, and infants that preschool and preschool children have about 4 to 8 colds per day. And rhinoviruses are responsible for outbreaks of this type of common cold in the general community, such as school, daycare centers, hospitals. Rhinovirus and coronavirus have been found to cause a greater disease burden nowadays in elderly people, even living in home, compared with influenza and RSV. So we are now seeing that what can coronavirus do? So it changes its strength and it produces up to the level of the morbidity. Now, the respiratory syncytial virus is a major cause of the respiratory illness in young children, affecting about 90% of children by the age of 2 years, and school going, that is 7 to 8 years, who often carry the respiratory syncytial virus. And in most family outbreaks, although more than 95% of infections are asymptomatic, they are not usually severe. Another is the parainfluenza virus are cause severe colds, croup, bronchitis, pneumonia in children and adults. And in infants, the virus can cause the life-threatening disease. Now, I like to discuss and keep myself restricted to the homeopathic area mostly. So, the most common respiratory ailments which we used to see in our clinic and in hospital, these are common pharyngitis, cold or rhinitis, laryngitis, tonsillitis, sinusitis, croup, subtypes otitis media, acute bronchitis, acute bronchiolitis, viral pneumonia, influenza. So before going to the therapeutic indications, one must remember homeopathy primarily is a symptom-based system of medicine. The medicine is determined by one individual symptoms, and for those who seek specific remedy for a diagnosed case in homeopathy must recall once more that what I mean to say, we treat the patient on the basis of the individualization. We never treat a patient symptomatically. Symptomatically, we do not treat the patient. We treat the patient on the basis of the symptomatology that used to identify by collection of symptomatology from an individual person, and we individualize the case, and on the basis of the individuality we used to prescribe. In this search for a homeopathic specific remedy, that is to say, in this comparison of collective symptoms of the natural disease with the list of symptoms of known medicines, third aphorism, in order to find among these an artificial morbific agent corresponding by the similarity to the disease to be cured, and more striking, singular, peculiar, uncommon we used to follow. Now, what I want to mean here, definitely according to section 53, singular, striking, uncommon, all these things we will get. So what actually happens in aphorism 29, that says we select a medicine on the basis of the symptom similarity, and we administer the medicine. It produces an artificial disease, though stronger in strength in the body, and it repels the earlier disease, and it persists for some times, and the dose and potency is in the hand of the physician, so it will persist for a considerable period, then it will go out by itself. Now the body is free from both natural and artificial disease which was produced by the medicine. Now I am concerning first rhinitis, though the name of this rhinitis, but various diseases which I have told in the list of the common respiratory problems, we will consider the symptomatology. In rhinitis, what happens? Inflammation of the mucous membrane of nose caused by virus. That is we call common cold. And there is a allergic reaction, sometimes hay fever. Symptoms include rhinorrhea. Symptoms include nasal congestion, headache, sneezing, and lacrimation. What the medicines we use for this purpose? Though I have written names of some medicines, but our motto is to take the case properly, individualize the case properly, and then apply the medicine. But then why this sort of medicines we have written? This sort of medicines have written because we just see the names: Allium cepa, ammon carb, arsenic, belladonna. Just 4 drugs are there in the front. Other medicines will come subsequently, because these are the drugs. In its physiological action, it affects the respiratory system. Affecting the respiratory system, it produces different types of respiratory problems. Somehow we have seen there is excessive secretion of mucus, and that secretion of mucus blockage the air channels. Air entry into the lung is prevented. Sometimes it is drying up. Sometimes it is not drying up. It is kept fluent. If it is fluent, the patient coughs and most of the phlegm comes out, and patient says, "Doctor, where from it is coming? I am coughing, at a lot of phlegm is coming out. But again it is coming. So where it is being produced?" So if it comes dried up, blockage the air channel, and if the air entry into the lung is prevented, this is a dry cough. This is a dry cough. Inability to expectorate properly. Dry cough, inability to expect properly, and as the mucus blockage the air channels, there will be some dyspnea or dyspnic problem. This is the dry cough. This dry cough we have seen in various medicines, and mostly the drugs we use are bryonia, antimonium tartaricum, causticum, spongia, cupramate. Now comes to the doctor, I am having a lot of mucus. I am having lot of mucus which is being expectorated. Instead of there is a profound production. Where from it is coming? These are the productive cough. These are the productive cough. And productive cough we used to found in case of, just think, hypersulfur, natrum salt, These are the drugs having productive curve. So many are expectorating, but so many still producing. Now, the symptoms which have been written here that you can get in the book. I am saying just the clinical area of this drug. Just think Eliam-SIPA, patient will come with us. Doctor, I am having tremendous nasal coryza, acrid nasal coryza, and peculiarity is I am having sneezing. It starts in the morning, and as the day advances, the intensity of the itching is increasing. Intensity of the itching is increasing in nature, and I am unable to be in the room. I have to go out. So watery nasal discharge, which causes acridity of the area through which it flows. That means the nostrils, which becomes reddened, which becomes corroded, and there is inability to keep himself in the room, must have to go out. That means watery discharge, acrid discharge, bland lacrimation, unable to stay in the warm room, must have to go out in the open air. Increased intensity of the sneezing. These are the symptoms of Eliam-SIPA. This will be the just clinical area I am telling. If it is Amon card, it is written there, burning watery coryza, nose stopped at night. That is, remember, watery discharge from nose, burning just like your Eliam-SIPA. It is long continuous coryza. The patient is unable to breathe through mouth, and there will be snuffles of babies at night. So when the patient of Amon curve we used to come to us, we ask the patient, because we are having some drugs having side determinations. So patient will say, mostly the left nostril is being affected. You know that a symptom is there in Amon curve, that while the patient is washing face, there will be bleeding, there will be epistaxis, and mostly from the left nostril. So left nostril having affection in Amon curve. Other symptoms all are like your Eliam-SIPA, that is watery discharge, burning, long continuous coryza, cannot breathe through mouth, and snuffles of babies at night. Just remember the duck Nux vomica. Nux vomica having almost same symptom, but difference is Nux vomica throughout the day there will be running nose, fluent coryza throughout the day. But when the patient sleeps at night, there is snuffles, stopped nose at night, inability to sleep at night. Next drug I should mention, the drug arsenic album. In arsenic album, you know that the patient is unable to lie down. Unable to lie down because symptoms aggravates on lying down. And patient unable to lie down on account of fear of suffocation. Because we know that there is also watery coryza. Patient is getting relief by heat. If you consider arsenic in asthma, because one of the most allergic manifestations is asthma. The asthma used to aggravate in the midnight. We ask our students, what is the time modality of arsenic album? Often answered midday, midnight. Then we ask one question, name a symptom where there is no midday aggravation but midnight aggravation is there. The answer is arsenic album, because it aggravates in the midnight. Patient has to sit up, must have to sit bending forward. Just bending forward gives relief of the symptoms, and inability to lie down. Just think the drug. unable or inability to lie down on fear of suffocation. So one patient is there where is also acrid discharge, stoppage of nose, and that is also from left nostrils, and the patient always having discharge, but that means fluent coryza persists throughout the day, and sometimes it become dry. There is also sneezing, but patient is getting better by lie down or lying down. Lying down gives relief. The drug is Synapis nigra. Synapis nigra. So lying down ameliorates. Number one is Synapis nigra. Number two, Sorainum. And number three, Manganum aceticum. Now, in Synapis nigra, there will be acrid coryza, fluent coryza throughout the day. Sometimes dry cough, and dry cough usually with lacrimation. In Synapis, dry cough usually with lacrimation. Sneezing will be there. Lying down ameliorates. In Manganum aceticum, there will be only dry cough, suffocative cough, and as soon as cough starts, patient knows I have to lie down. And patient says, doctor, whenever my cough starts, I know that I have to lie down. And then I used to lie down and I'm getting relief from my cough. And regarding Sorainum, you all know cough, usually asthmatic cough, patient, as soon as the asthma commences, patient used to lie and keeps the limbs stretched apart, and stretching apart causes amelioration for the time being, at least in case of the drug Sorainum. Next drug is Belladonna. Belladonna, we all know that coryza containing blood streaks with mucus, and Belladonna is a drug which is acutely used, and onset is very sudden and violent. And you know that a drug of congestion, whatever the disease is, wherever the disease is, which organ being affected in Belladonna, there will be severe congestion. Congestion leads to flushing of face, redness of eyes, and throbbing of carotid. These three main area of Belladonna. Now, one drug I like to say here, because as regard the other drugs I have told regarding dry cough, Bryonia alba, we know that patient must have to sit holding the chest because of the movement aggravates. Patient used to hold the chest during a spell of cough. Just think another drug which used to aggravates in the damp wet weather, that is natrum sulph. Natrum sulph also hold the chest during a spell of cough. Difference is Bryonia is dry cough, natrum sulph is productive cough. Now, next is very good drug for dry. We used to apply this or administer or select this medicine for dry cough is causticum. Causticum, we know that it's a dry cough, very little expectoration or sometimes no expectoration, and patient is in a paroxysmal cough, difficult expectoration, cough only relieved by drinking cold water, and cough leads to pain in the distal part. Mostly the patient used to say, doctor, मेरे को कमर में दर्द होता है. When the spell of cough comes, there is a pain in the hip. Now the question comes, another drug, cough relieved by drinking cold water. Another drug is Cuprum metallicum. Cupra metallicum, we are thinking the drug for epileptic attack. Cupra metallicum is a drug we are thinking for the abdominal problem. And another area is epilepsy, and this our cholera and cough relieved by drinking cold water. Now, nature of cough, what is the nature of cough? Patient having cough, dry in nature, with bluishness of the face, that is the cyanotic appearance of the face, relieved by drinking cold water. Just think a drug, cough, compels the patient to get up at night. Cough compels the patient to get up at night. Patient used to open the windows, and cough leads to cyanotic phase. Cough leads to cyanotic phase. Get up from sleep or lying down condition. Open the windows. Open all the windows to get a fresh breath. Is Sambucus nigra. Sambucus nigra. So I want to mention another drug for productive cough is hypersulfur. We all know that hypersulfur is a patient of asthmatic cough, and this asthmatic cough used to aggravate at night, and patient is getting better by bending backward. We all know that. Now, I am telling you the patient's word. Patient says, doctor, I used to get up at night. I used to open all the windows to get fresh breath. This is a bit different or fallacy symptom of our hypersulfur, because we know that hypersulfur is a very, very chilly patient. All the windows, all the doors are being closed. Patient used to keep a light outside and see that any point is there through which light is coming or not. If any point is there, that is also being closed. So chilly the patient is. Only fallacy the asthmatic, asthma. When asthma occurs, patient used to open all the windows and doors to get fresh breath air. Even then, the patient is a very chilly patient. We sometimes ask our students, tell me when hypersulfur is hot. Hypersulfur chilly we know. When hypersulfur is hot, the students are unable to answer sometimes, because definitely good students are answering us, no doubt. But these students, most of the students will not be answered, because hypersulfur hot in case of children. And just see sanicula, in bracket it is written. All the clothes are being opened. Cannot keep the clothings, even in coldest winter. Even in coldest winter. So hypersulfur hot is there. But I say that hypersulfur, though it's chilly patient, yet wants to get the fresh breath from outside, open all the windows and doors. All the windows and doors. Now, I like to say another drug. It's Sabadilla. Sabadilla we used to say like Ilium sipa, like ammonium carb. One is another drug for our allergic manifestations. Here we get spasmodic sneezing, running nose, redness of eyes like belladonna, copious watery nasal discharge. But peculiarity is that the patient says, I am having nasal discharge which is fluent, but we are having the habit to deglute sometimes. And in the throat, doctor, I feel something is lodging which is stringy in nature. If I try even to make out the phlegm, just like our causticum, it's not coming out. But causticum production is not much. But in Sabadilla, production is there, because when it is coming out through the nose, it is fluent. It is fluent. But when it is coming out from the throat, it becomes stringy. it becomes stingy. This is the peculiarity. Phlegm become tough. Sensation of the skin is hanging loosely. And I try my best to that is tries to make out by hemming, hawking like Argentum nitricum, and that leads to soreness of the throat. So in Sabadilla, patient having allergic manifestation, patient having watery discharge, watery nasal discharge with redness of eyes, but when the patient wants to make it out from the throat, it's become very difficult. Another drug we must remember, that is antimonium tartaricum, the drug having only affinity for the respiratory system, and we know in physiological action the drug produces definitely a lot of mucus, and which causes obstruction of the air passage. So antimonium tart also having the same symptom like causticum. There is formation but difficult expectoration, and mostly the victim is child, and the sound which happens to be in the chest, mostly in the right side, is being affected. And if you just keep your chest piece of this stato, it will hurt your ear. So sound is there inside, and it is known that which can be heard from a distance, in case of antimonium tartaricum. But the cause is most important. Bad effects of vaccination is the most important cause of appearance of the respiratory problems in case of antimonium tartaricum. Now the question comes that other drugs having bad effects of vaccination, you know that the drugs are Silicea, the drugs is Thuja, Mesarium, and antimonium tartaricum. Now we know that in antimonium tartaricum, the complaints that appears from bad effects of vaccination is respiratory problem. In Silicea and in Mesarium, the complaints that appears from bad effects of vaccination is skin, and in Thuja, the complaints that appears mostly rheumatism. So bad effects of vaccination in different drugs produces different symptoms. Now, again, I'm going back to Sabadilla, and in Sabadilla, I told that when the phlegm, the patient wants to make out from the throat, it becomes stringy. Remember the drug Kelly by Chrome. But peculiarity is discharge is stringy from the throat with violent sneezing, sticky discharge from the throat, and from the nose. The patient says that I have to make it out like this. I have to clear my nose as the phlegm that obstruct my nostrils. I have to make it out. But after violent sneezing, the passage of the nose became clear for the time being, but it repeats again. So you may sometimes think it is a drug from Arum triphyllum. Arum triphyllum having the habit to keep the fingers and boring the fingers on the nose and tries to make out something. Until and unless the crust which has to be retracted from the nose by repeated trying, the patient will not be quiet. Another drug I should mention here, the Justicia. Sometimes we used to give the drug empirically because we know that this is one of the most important drug for cough, dry cough. But dry cough, tightness of chest plus constipation is equal to Justicia. Dry cough, tightness of chest plus constipation is equal to Justicia. So several drugs are there in area of respiratory problems. Just we have to watch. Sometimes we have to watch, just observe the patient. Just after observation, we have to prescribe the drug. if the patient appears before you holding the chest in your clinic, you can think of it may be a case of bryonia or it may be a case of natrum salt. No, on asking, we can go to the proper point which medicine has to be prescribed on the basis of the observation. So drug becomes limited if we have the proper power of observation. On the basis of the observation, we can treat the patient. On the basis of the symptomatology, we can treat the patient. So we'll be very careful on treating our patient. Whatever the name of the disease, we are being guided by sign and symptom. It is intention of all of us to keep all the symptoms of all the drugs in our memory, which is an inhuman task. It's not possible for us to keep all the drugs in our memory. But if we be able to just make a picture of that drug on the basis of the guiding symptoms, we will be able to treat the patient successfully. Thank you very much, sir, for your patience sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Abhijit, sir. This is the real teaching of homeopathy. That is, listen carefully to the patient. The patient is describing his remedy to you. So it was how from the language of the patient, how to select the medicines, and how from the expressions and the objective symptoms, the selection of the medicine becomes easy. So thank you very much, sir, for your presentation and for your guidance.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now our second speaker for today is Dr. Rajat Chattopadhyay, a well-known name in homeopathic fraternity. Sir has done his PhD from West Bengal University of Health Sciences and is postgraduate from National Institute of Homeopathy. Presently, Dr. Rajat sir is principal of the Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College and Hospital, the oldest homeopathic institute of Asia. Sir is having a clinical experience of 25 years and is author to 3 books published by well-known publishers like B. Jain and IBPP. Sir is a profound academician and has been invited as resource person in various ROTPs and by the highest bodies like Central Council of Homeopathy, Central Council of Research in Homeopathy, and National Institute of Homeopathy. He has many publications to his name in peer-reviewed journals and has presented papers at many national and international seminars. Dr. Rajat Chattopadhyay is an ardent researcher too and is appointed as a principal investigator of research projects under the West Bengal government. We are fortunate to have among us a sound clinician, an able administrator, excellent academician, famous orator and author, and a keen researcher. On behalf of Parul University, sir, I welcome you to begin your presentation. Dr. Rajat Chattopadhyay, sir, please.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, I should convey my gratitude and feel honored to be invited in the Parul University as a guest speaker in this webinar. And the topic nicely chosen and the current situation, that is the scope of homeopathy in respiratory disorders. First of all, we should start from a nutshell about the respiratory system. Respiratory system overall picture. That is the general outline. If we go through from infectious diseases, it is from upper, the upper respiratory infection. It is the lower, the most common, like pneumonia, like severe acute respiratory syndrome, like tuberculosis. And if we just categorize those to obstructive lung disease, within the obstructive lung disease, cystic fibrosis, cancer, aspiration pneumonia, asthma, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and under COPD, emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and again the restrictive lung disorders like chest wall abnormalities, connective tissue abnormalities, pneumocodiasis. It's very common now among the workers. Vascular disorders, pulmonary edema, pulmonary embolism, expansion disorders, within expansion disorders, atelectasis, pleural effusions, pneumothorax, RDS, respiratory distress symptom, and very especially these RDS for infant, also seen in the adult. Upper respiratory tract infection, I just want to give a very small introduction of all those respiratory diseases, as because I am in the faculty of practice of medicine since long 20 years, so I should just highlight all the diseases of the respiratory tract infections, and then I should go through the homeopathic approach to these respiratory infections, a little bit of Metriometica, and what should be our ideal approach right now. So within the upper respiratory infection, the most important one, there's the low-grade fever, the malaise, the sore throat, discharge, all these are very common to any upper respiratory infections. And over 200 different viruses have been implicated, which can cause the secondary infection, which is most important here in the upper respiratory infection. That is the secondary infection. It is very high. All the complications arise due to these secondary infections. And you know that 200 different viruses have been implicated for this. Now, it's the time of influenza. It's going on. And the three viral types most common, that is the ABC, which have a very short incubation period, and all of the influenza having characteristic of high fever in flu, which usually lasts 4 to 5 days. And in influenza, you can see the both upper and lower respiratory tract infection. But which is important, that is death may result from pneumonia from influenza. And the death rate in the influenza through pneumonia is near about 10%. Through the all influenza. I'm not talking about this now COVID-19, but in general influenza, which is very common to the society, the death may result from pneumonia. And if we come right now to the corona, there's the fourth generation, we know alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and there we can get all the symptoms from acute respiratory tract infection, which includes pneumonia, which includes bronchitis, which includes croup, which includes bronchiolitis, and the persistent fever may be there, headache may be there, dry cough may be there, sore throat may be there. You know, in West Bengal, we have gone through the patients of the COVID positive patients in the quarantine centers, and most of our lecturers also there for the duties in the quarantine centers, and they have found that sore throat is very much common in West Bengal patients of COVID-19 patients, in these particularly right now. So their high fever or dry cough is less common in West Bengal. These are pattern change. It differs to Maharashtra, it differs to Calcutta and the Indore. These are the presentation of these COVID-19 different within India. Obviously, it is totally different in all other countries also. So myalgia, diarrhea, shortness of breath, even systemic illness, these are very important because these COVID-19 can cause systemic illness. This is very important. I'm not talking that only COVID-19 is the novel one, that which only one type of virus that can cause systemic illness, but it has the particular affinity to go through the systemic illness. That's why it is very violent form. So these are the most common three respiratory infections in children, and usually the homeopaths love to treat the child patient, and also the pediatrics and all the mother, they love to treat with under homeopath for their babies, for their children. And these are very common, which is croup, which is laryngotracheobronchitis for the upper tract infection, which is very common up to the 3 years, and usually due to adenovirus, and begin just like upper respiratory tract infection. Another one is the epiglottitis, which is also upper tract infection, and another one which is bronchiolitis. My earlier speaker was also talking about RSV, that is the respiratory syncytial virus. This is very important. Why RSV is very important? Because these myxovirus is very common, and patient having cough, having wheezing and dizziness, severe wheezing and severe shortness of breath, the patient will not give you time. That I will take time, I will case taking will be much more, and then I have to select. But very quickly, because patient will not give you very time, but patient is in distress. So very cautious we have to be during bronchiolitis. Our approach will be very good, very methodical, very quick also to select the medicine. And I think this patient will give you symptoms, whether this is of aconite, whether this is of antimptot, whether the aconite patient, the suddenness of the aconite, the suddenness of the antimptot, which is very much wheezing. And again, these antimptot patients also become drowsy. Also, the hepatization sees in the antimptot, maybe in the middle stage, maybe in the advanced stage. So within this acute phase, you will get also the clues to different remedies also. We will get the indications. So nothing to be worried. Only we have to very cautious about the diagnosis. Whenever it is diagnosed from clinical standpoint, then diagnosis from homeopathic approach. I will come later. So bronchiolitis, that is the RSV infection, which I was talking about, approx 50% of all the children admitted for lower respiratory tract infection. And it is, you know, that by the age in the United States, 100% of American kids infected by this bronchiolitis. Don't think that it is not very common in India. Also, it may not be 100% because we are very much exposed here due to poor, low socioeconomic status in India. The childs are very much exposed. So there may not be 100% affection, but it maybe it more than 70%. Predisposing factors are very much common in the familial history. The cigarette smoking, these are all predisposing factors. But which is important, that is the hyperinflation, can get air trapping, can get obstructive atelectasis, even obstructive atelectasis. So there may be lung collapse. These are very emergency situation may arise. So obstructive type, under the obstructive type, there is emphysema, chronic bronchitis, bronchial asthma, bronchiectasis, cystic fibrosis. And forced expiratory volume, there's the FEV1 in male and in female as a confirmatory diagnosis. You have to go through the pulmonary function test, and under FEV1 forced expiratory volume, then you can go through the confirmatory diagnosis. You can diagnose from clinically, but for confirmatory diagnosis, you have to go through pulmonary function test and see the forced expiratory volume, FEV1. The restrict type, what are the restricted types? This is a disease in intraalveolar space, intraparenchymal disease of lung. This is intraparenchymal, within the parenchyma of the lung. Neuromuscular junctional, like autoimmune disorders, these are very alarming nowadays. Autoimmune disorders, don't think it is very chronic, it will come to the very later stage. It usually come within the 20 to 30 years, or 30 to 40 is the most virulent type, where neuromuscular junction of these autoimmune disorders may come as restrictive type of lung diseases. Restriction in the chest wall, here also pulmonary function test and the forced expiratory volume will give you the clue to be a confirmed diagnosis. So this is very important. Chest wall disorders, this is not acute one, kyphoscoliosis, cervical injury, myasthenia gravis, you know myasthenia gravis, diaphragmatic paralysis, and obviously the obesity. Nowadays, the obesity is the alarming sign. It is just like epidemic, also the obesity going on all over the world. It's the USA was suffering from this, but now India, in all the developed country and developing country like India, China, Japan, they're also suffering from obesity, and obesity also may cause this type of chest wall disorders when BMI is more than 30. Lung parenchymal disorders. Under lung parenchymal disorders, there are restrictive lung disease, there are lung collapse, congenital lung atelectasis, lung fibrosis, pneumoconiosis. Pneumoconiosis, you know, it is related to the occupation. This is a purely occupational disorder seen among the laborers. The pneumonia, why today I am emphasizing on pneumonia, because you know, when I was student, it was said that pneumonia is the patchy inflammation of the lung parenchyma. Now it is in the evidence, we are going through the evidence-based medicine. And in the evidence-based medicine, we have to go through the, whenever I am talking about any definition, it is not confined up to the only patchy inflammation of the lung parenchyma. We have to add the radiological evidences of the homogeneous opacity, then only your definition can be completed. So in the pneumonia, we have seen there are very many causes of pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia. Under bacteria, there are diplococci or the causes, the viral pneumonia. It's a very common nowadays, from COVID to avian flu, all the viral pneumonia, adenoviruses, even the mycoplasma, there are very many factors which can cause pneumonia. But what is important here, you can see the pneumonia pictures, the patchy inflammation of the lung parenchyma. The wonderfully clinical medicine classified this pneumonia according to its presentation, according to its bacterial cause, etiological classification. It is not only confined within the etiological classification, that is the pneumonia caused by bacteria, pneumonia caused by virus, pneumonia caused by mycoplasma, pneumonia caused by fungal, pneumonia caused by tubercular and other miscellaneous causes, and aspiration pneumonia like that. or maybe pneumonia classified by the lobular or lobar or interlobular like that. It is not only so that even within the bacteria, all the bacteria, there are very many classifications which simulate our homeopathic presentation, like Legionnaire disease, which is Legionnaire pneumonia. It is very common to cooling towers or air conditioned system, where hot water plumbing of building spread by inhalation. And what is important there that whenever this Legionella in pneumonia diagnosis is difficult, since hard to culture, the culture is very hard for these bacteria, and so diagnosis is very much. It is not easy that Legionella pneumonia can be diagnosed within 2 to 3 days. So, and the disease is with very high virulence. So, Legionella disease is a very important one, where the etiology is the gram-negative bacteria. But it is why it is most common, because it is found in the cooling towers or in the air conditioning system. So in the urban areas, in the town areas, it is very much now alarming pneumonia. Another one, PAP, primary atypical pneumonia. It is the interstitial pneumonia. Mycoplasma pneumonia is the most common cause. Onset is vague onset with non-productive cough. It is very common to the older children and adults. TCP, pneumocystis caridii pneumonia. It is the opportunistic infection of pneumonia, or in case of HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Another, there is fungal pneumonia. Fungal pneumonia is a challenge to the medical profession. It is very like chronic disease. It come in the form of acute, but it lasts like the chronic disease. So fungal pneumonia is very 3 types: pocaidomycosis, histoplasmosis, blastomycosis. These are from soil, and it's very common even in India also, not only of Europe or America. It is also very common to India also, and generally primary infection is self-limiting, heals spontaneously, may get a disseminated disease called secondary stage, and the secondary stage may cause complication. Even pulmonary abscess may occur from the complication of pneumonia. And you know, under the complications of pneumonia, this pulmonary abscess, it's very common. Pulmonary, even in the etiology of pulmonary abscess, pneumonia is the most common cause. SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. It's since February 2003, first diagnosed in China, and etiology, the first coronavirus name was with the SARS, and you know, after that also MERS came around 2014, like that in the Arabian countries and the other part of the world. The mortality, it is very important here in the SARS, that is 10% to 50%. Even in the SARS, exclusively it is 10% to 20%, but whenever it was just after changing, when it came in the form of MERS, and the another one, the mortality was 35 to 50%. So if we compare right now with the COVID-19, COVID-19 is much less mortality with the 2 to 3% only. Tuberculosis, I will skip this one. Tuberculosis, I will go whenever through the homeopathic approach of this tuberculosis. But why this tuberculosis slide is mentioned here? Because very silently, this tuberculosis is always very, very common disease in India. And even we are like, just right now, we are talking about the asymptomatic patients of COVID-19. If you think of COVID-19, when COVID-19 first seen in China, even in December last or January, at that time, all the patients were not asymptomatic. But whenever all the medical profession, they are well aware, they became well aware about the COVID-19, that virus become asymptomatic. In the second phase or in the last phase of the Wuhan areas to China, the most of the patients were asymptomatic. But when it was the first, the COVID-19 was totally symptomatic with the severe respiratory distress, with the pneumonias, with the high fever, with the chill, rigor, all the symptoms of COVID-19 were present. But whenever medical profession diagnose the condition, then the virus become asymptomatic. It is the very wide sense philosophy of the virus, because the motto, only aim of the virus is to infect and to invade within the society, because virus can live within the human being. And virus know that my only aim is to infect the human and to invade with the society. So whenever you are diagnosing the virus, or whenever you are making the isolation within the society, you are making all the quarantine, all the home quarantine from the government level, the virus, they become asymptomatic. Whenever they become asymptomatic and they are also infecting, all those asymptomatic carrier will cause infection to all those. So it is the type of war between the human and the virus. So now, right now, I can say that virus is in the winning stage, because see, the virus is now in asymptomatic stage, and ultimate aim of the virus is to infect more than 60% to 70% or 75% population of the whole world. Then only its virulence will will go less. So then this COVID-19 mortality will be much more less. But why I am talking with this tuberculosis? Because tuberculosis also was very virulent form in the very remote past. Even the leprosy, like homeopathic in connection with homeopathy, it was a very primary form of sora. And if you think of chronic disease, the very violent form of leprosy, erysipelas, it was very violent form. And all the leprotic patient and all these erysipelas patients, they were all quarantined, and all those patients were isolated. And ultimately, those diseases become very less virulent. Now, the SORA, primary manifestation of the SORA is right now, it is confined only within a level like small QT eruption like scabies. So it is the historical, if we think of this COVID and in relation to tuberculosis, now tuberculosis is very much prevalent in our society, but in very mild form. And it is also challenged to specifically to India to spread these silent tuberculosis, what is going on within all the society. But what is important here, the tuberculosis droplet infection is much, in comparison to COVID-19, it is not so much contagious, but COVID-19 is so contagious and its pathology is so fast. So this is the most important part of COVID-19. So I will skip the tuberculosis, this is a cavitation. You must know that there are false negative tuberculin tests. It may be seen in miliary tuberculosis, in sarcoidosis, the autoimmune disorder, the lymphoarticular malignancy. Even in the severe malnutrition, your tuberculin test may be false negative. Immunosuppressive therapy, if anyone is going through any immunosuppressive therapy of modern medicine, they can be false negative tuberculin test, defective cell-mediated immunity, and the convalescence form of some viral infection like measles. These are their false negative tuberculin test may occur. Lung cancer, I will not talk of, it's a respiratory, within the respiratory disease, lung cancer are there. We should know only that the adenocarcinoma and the large cell carcinoma, we can cause very fast metastasis. So if it is squamous cell carcinoma, the metastasis will be very less. But it is of oat cell or large cell carcinoma, the metastasis are very fast. We should know about this lung cancer. I should skip this. The aspiration pneumonitis, the passage of foreign material into the trachea or lungs, commonest site right lower lobe. Why it is important, why I'm mentioning this aspiration pneumonitis? Because I have already talked about the pneumonia. And there are very many classifications of the pneumonia. Aspiration pneumonitis is another variety, where two important parts, that is solid objects produce obstruction and the liquid objects produce inflammation. So aspiration pneumonia may be solid, may be liquid, and one cause obstruction, another cause inflammation. There are complications of acute respiratory distress syndrome, pulmonary abscess, and systemic effects of absorbed material. Which material was absorbed, that may cause systemic effects. These are the cause of aspiration pneumonia, which is very common in children for newborn meconium and infants and foreign bodies with playing with the foreign bodies, children with congenital abnormalities like cleft palate, adults during operation, adults with café coronary, talking while eating. It is very important part. That's why it is told you don't talk while eating. So and another, old peoples with less gag reflex. Whenever a patient, whenever human becoming old, the gag reflex becoming less. So it may occur aspiration pneumonitis in case of old. Asthma, bronchial asthma. These are very much allergic conditions related to bronchial asthma. It also come with under COPD. As per one American authority, Harrison's internal principal medicine, bronchial asthma should be included under COPD. But as per Davidson's, England-based clinical medicine, they usually consider asthma as a separate entity because it is purely related to our extrinsic and intrinsic factors, and the allergic manifestations is the most important factors of asthma. The etiology, inflammatory reactions, and the key antibody IgE, and the allergens and the irritants. There are very many allergens and irritants, very many, even the chocolates, even the chickens. These may cause the allergens. The histamines and the leukotrienes, the SRS, slow reacting substance A, these are the inflammatory cytokines, and chronic asthma can lead to irreversible damage to lung tissue. Incidence as asthma increased over last 10 to 15 years. And under COPD, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, chronic asthma. Also, the chronic bronchitis where patient will cough and cough and cough, and the expectoration will be much and much and more. Usually, we ask during undergraduate level question that what is the basic difference between chronic bronchitis and bronchial asthma, because expectoration is much more less in bronchial asthma, where chronic bronchitis the expectoration is very easy expectoration, like what Stanham met, where if you think of Maitre Medica of Stanham met with the weakness, with the Stanham, it is the Stanham, the tubercular background with the weakness of the chest, everything weakness. So tubercular background is there, and the easy expectoration like salt, our musty odored, easy expectoration. These are all you can see in chronic bronchitis. And whatever happened in the chronic bronchitis in the secondary infection, that was caused by the bacterial infection. Secondary bacterial infections like Haemophilus influenzae. Haemophilus influenzae may cause yellow expectoration. Whenever it is Pseudomonas infection, it may cause green. Whenever it is something streptococcal or staphylococcal, that becomes sticky. So our Maitre Medica, this differentiation can be taught as the uncommon peculiar symptoms. Whichever it is sticky, it is, we can see in the streptococcal or staphylococcal infection, this type of sticky discharge, even which is very common to graphitis, like, or which is very common to other, even the stringy type, very thick, like Cali group, like Cali bichromicum or pulsatilla. You can see it in the secondary infection of Pseudomonas type with green and yellow and very thick. So these bacterial infections, these presentations may also individualize one another Maitre Medica drug. It is something new that Maitre Medica symptoms come from. It is also come from pathology, but we have to consider the pathology in the man. We should not consider the disease with the man. We should consider the man in the disease. This is the most important part. The practice of medicine also right now, it is individualizing the disease, but they are not considering the human. But we as a homeopath, we should consider the human first, and then the human in the disease state we have to consider from this angle. Again, the bronchiectasis, most important part of bronchiectasis is the severe hemorrhage. Severe hemorrhage. Even whenever any student is asked what is the most common cause of hemoptysis, usually say pulmonary tuberculosis and lung cancer. But bronchiectasis may come in the second or third stage. Even the first, if in India, the first will be pulmonary tuberculosis, but second one should be bronchiectasis. If the lung cancer, it is not very common. Lung cancer is common, but not common like tuberculosis or bronchiectasis. Lung cancer may come in the fourth place or third place or fifth place. Even, the only cardiac complications, that is the mitral stenosis, will also can cause hemoptysis. These are the questions we asked during undergraduate examination. But bronchiectasis, we should know that is the bronchiectasis related to severe hemoptysis. Emphysema, severe respiratory distress, patient with the history of cigarette smoking, very more than 10 or more than 20 cigarette smoking, permanent, irreversible, destructive disease of alveolar septa. Ultimately, the enzyme, there is a deficiency in the enzyme, and which can cause the destruction between one and another alveolar wall. These are the cause of emphysema. And emphysema, the most important part of emphysema, the patient think that this is my last breath, I cannot take the next breath. It is also written in our Maitre Medica. It is also written in our Apis mellifica. It is also written in another drug. So these are the symptoms which can be produced also by any other drug. That is the beauty of homeopathy. But it is not that Apis mellifica can produce only this symptom. This symptom is also produced in case of hydrothorax. This is my last symptom. This is my last breath. I cannot take the second breath. It is also produced in pneumothorax. It is also produced in hydrothorax. It is also produced in emphysema. So breathlessness, the shortness of breath, these are the presenting symptoms of Apis mellifica. But for prescribing Apis mellifica, the patient should be thirstless. Patient should have the attitude of Apis mellifica, the lack of thirst. Everything like Apis mellifica constituency, the effects in right side. These are the constitution of the Apis mel patient. Then we can prescribe Apis mellifica homeopathic point of view. Restrictive lung disorders, 2 groups of disease. I have already told this. Pneumoconiosis, very important one, which is related to tuberculosis also, and which is related to our occupational disorders also. Vascular disorders, I should skip all those. Pleural effusion, pleurisy is also another important part, but in acute form, there is heaviness and simple chest pain, chest and heaviness in the wet pleurisy, dry pleurisy. In the dry pleurisy, pain is much more. We have very many medicines. Even when I was an earlier college now I am in Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College, but at Mahesh Bhattacharya College under IPD, we have treated 2 recorded cases. We have documented of this pleural effusion, and we have documented all those. The patient was sent from the DOT center, and under homeopathic treatment, ultimately patient recovered. So we have very many patients that don't think that bryonia, because bryonia, symptomatology of bryonia is very much similar to pleurisy. So in every pleurisy patient, you should give bryonia. Because the typical stitching pain is seen in bryonia, and the typical stitching pain is seen in pleurisy. But that typical stitching pain is also seen in costochondritis, Titt syndrome. That typical stitching pain may be also seen in pericarditis even. So we should remain cautious to prescribe any medicine. Pleural effusion and the pneumothorax. Under pneumothorax, which one is most important? That is the spontaneous pneumothorax, open tension. I should mention only one thing. Be cautious about the tension pneumothorax. It is the valvular pneumothorax, and it is the only condition when you can get the tympanic sound. Tympanic sound is heard during abdomen palpation. Whenever you are palpating the abdomen, there may be tympanic sound. But tympanic sound you can find in chest. It is very common in pneumothorax, particular variety, tension pneumothorax. Tension pneumothorax, the patient, one thing is written in the book, that is the giveaway sensation. Giveaway sensation. Patient can't take breath. Giveaway sensation. Death is better than that. That I may die, but I can't take breath. This is the symptomatology of pneumothorax. It's subjective symptomatology. For the subjective symptomatology, I should refer our Seven's Clinical Medicine. If you go through those books, very old books, but reprint edition, but the presentation of the clinical medicine is very much like our homeopathic approach. So these are the form of pneumothorax. It is very much available over the net and over the textbooks. Respiratory distress syndrome, infant RDS is very common, not enough surfactant, but also the adult respiratory distress syndrome also, which is called shock lung. It is very important, which can ruin surfactant and inflame endothelium. So it is also what is the very emergency condition of this adult RDS? You have to give oxygen there. You have to be supportive instruments should be hospitalized. You can't treat it in your chamber, in your OPD. It should be hospitalized patient, but your diagnosis is very important because the patient has been suffering from RDS, adult RDS. So you should diagnose it first, and you're referral in right time. You should refer the patient to hospital. It's very important one. So the practice of medicine actually combines both science and art. As per Harrison's book, the scientific part is the clinical medicine part. The artistic part is going through the case taking to know the disease from the very beginning, and specifically the study of disease from its individual based evolution. It is not the word of homeopathy. This is the word of now clinical medicine. We should have good case taking. We should have individual based evaluation and what is to be cured in the disease with the knowledge of practice of medicine and the indications from the homeopathic standpoint. This is our motto as a homeopath. So in each and every disease, if from a simple viral infection to the pneumonia to tuberculosis, whatever may be, what is to be cured in the disease and what should be the indications, that is the clues from homeopathic standpoint, these are very important. Study may be from longitudinal study, which can go to the in-depth study from the pathology, from the lab investigations with the predict complications, all those in-depth study. And the cross-sectional study, you have to study the disease in your locality. Now, if you think you are studying the COVID-19, then COVID-19 should be studied in your locality. COVID-19 presentation is different in all over countries. COVID-19 presentation is different in Indore. COVID-19 patient presentation is different in Calcutta. Even these COVID-19 patient difference in Italy and France, it is totally different. Even we are talking about arsenic album, we are talking about bryonia, we are talking about camphor, and we are talking about sepia. Most of the stalwarts, most are very renowned homeopaths, they are talking, and all the debates are going on. Ministry of Ayush is telling about the arsenicum album, and another one at Agra College, they have wonderfully worked with the bryonia alba. Another one, Dr. Shankaran, worked with camphor all respectable doctors, they are all right in their particular domain, because whatever camphor they have administered in those areas, camphor presentation was there. The typical collapsing state of the camphor, if we not consider the Metromedica pura of camphora, which is written by Hahnemann, and that camphor was used during epidemic, but it is also true that very many patients will give you the picture of camphor, but in West Bengal, you cannot find a single or very less people to be presenting feature of camphor. Here, most of the patients giving you the feature of mostly bryonia here. Even arsenic feature is not very common here. And typical condition, environmental conditions of West Bengal, Assam, all these eastern areas of India, this is a typically bryonia area. So here you can find the bryonia type of patient. Arsenic type of patient also, you can't think that you will get the typical arsenic mentality in all COVID-19 patient, and it is also not possible to get in genus epidemicus. Even just if we right now study the COVID-19 from cross-sectional study, it is our observation that genus epidemicus may not be applicable here right now. We cannot say the genus epidemicus because here the individualized homeopathic way of treatment, whenever we are doing the intervention, not I am talking from precaution or preventable point, preventive measure, I am talking about treatment process. Whenever you are talking about the treatment procedure of COVID-19, then till date, it is our observation that individualized based homeopathic medicine may be the best option till date. But as a preventive measure, as Ministry of Ayush think of arsenic, because arsenic has the bactericidal effect, arsenic has got its literature review. The Wuhan case reports indicating arsenic, the typical arsenic sphere of action on the respiratory system. These are the all features of arsenic, and obviously with the COVID-19 patient, whatever is going on, the fear of death, which is very much common in arsenic, it is also common in arsenic, which is related to disease. So these are type of study. I am not talking that it is my observation, just I am sharing with you, but our cross-sectional study in the society will be like that. Whenever we will think of bronchitis, we may think from miasmatic point of view that excessive mucus secretion, mucus gland hypertrophy, goblet cell hypertrophy may be from psychosis, even from the sluggish ciliary movement may be due to SORA, secondary infection may be depending on the miasmatic background. The typical alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency of emphysema may be of SORA. Permanent dilatation of lung alveoli may be of psychosis. Destruction of alveolar septa may be of syphilis. In one patient, if all these three features are present, then soric, syphilis, psychosis, the combination of miasmatic presentation is there. But one should be the predominant one, and we should treat accordingly. So even the clinical features, the typical characteristic of cough, the typical modalities of the cough, time, seasonal, postural, associated features, color, consistency, everything will individualize the case. It is not that the dry cough when, what was the even only dry cough giving nothing, not a single constitutional feature, it is also important that patient may be in incurable stage, because that's why he or she is not giving you the indications. So these are very important features. Even from the fever, even from the clinical features like shortness of breath, dyspnea, we have to individualize all those symptoms. This should be our approach. Even from the pathological part, from the X-ray chest, just you are seeing the X-ray chest and the bronchovascular prominency, the hypertransfluent lung filled with that bulla. These are all important part from our investigation part also. So bronchial asthma, I already told about the triggering factors, exciting intrinsic factors, which is very important. It is from our Davidson. Many patients with well-controlled asthma are asymptomatic with normal lung function and between exacerbation. But these patients having evidence of chronic airway inflammation and hyper-responsiveness. It may be the transient latent SORA to SORA. Our understanding should be like that. Genetic and environmental factors with individualization with miasmatic background, with accessory circumstances. That should be our understanding of pathophysiology, one from modern medicine, another from homeopathy. We should not feel inferior. The same thing is going on. Even 1930 to 1950, bronchial asthma was considered a psychosomatic illness as per modern medicine. It was told as holy disease. It was not like that. And right now, it is believed that increased rates of asthma are due to changing epigenetics. What is epigenetics? It is beyond the genes, the environmental factors, the other associated factors, all the small things, even the emotional turmoils, your little type of mental, emotional feelings. These are all changing living environment. So hygiene hypothesis, you should be more exposed. We are more exposed. Our developing countries are more exposed. So death rate is much less here. They are not very much exposed. All the modern developed countries like European countries, USA, US states, everyone, even the London, British, they are not very much exposed. So their death rate is too much high. Here exposed, we are very much exposed. This is hygiene hypothesis. This hygiene hypothesis first came in Oxford Practice of Medicine, and it came in relevance to a case of bronchial asthma. A group of people who are suffering from bronchial asthma, they were from very posh area of London, and another group of people who were in the farmhouse with all the exposures, they have no asthma. But all those people, they were in very good areas without any dust, very free dusty movement, but they all developed asthma from these hygiene hypotheses developed. So our thinking should be, so that tuberculosis may be of three types: primary tuberculosis, miliary, post-primary tuberculosis. Post-primary tuberculosis is like adult tuberculosis, which is very common tuberculosis where bleeding is much more, hemoptysis is much more. It may be syphilitic in nature. Whenever it is primary tuberculosis, all the soric patient, all the soric predominant patient may give birth to primary tuberculosis, which आपको is very much, patient is coughing, patient having recurrent susceptibility to cold, fever, less with coming and going, but ultimately will not develop tuberculosis. Having the all skin disease under the skin, so pityriasis, versicolor manifestations, all those are primary tuberculosis. But what should be our homeopathic approach? That a soric patient may develop primary tuberculosis. A typical syphilitic predominant patient will develop adult tuberculosis, and the typical psychotic predominant patient will develop fibrosis tuberculosis, where bleeding is much less, but fibrosis is much common. Similar approach to pneumothorax. Now I will go through I am not the man of materia medica, but whatever experience I have seen, I have observed, I have gathered through all my seniors and also through my clinical practice in the OPDs, earlier in the Mahesh Bhatt, right now in the Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College. We are going through very many respiratory diseases cases in West Bengal, most of the patients of respiratory. So we have few selected medicine, like gallic acid, the stramonium like fever, tuberculinum like violence, hemorrhage and cough like phosphorus in advanced lung pathogenesis, and restless like attention deficit hyperactive disorders. All these are new drug. I'm not talking about that you should, but you may try. It is a very combination drug. I should also Torula, doctor, another one senior doctor is very this drug. He in his practice first he told us you try. We know the bad effect of vaccination. Bad effect of the vaccination is very good. Anti-IMTAT, Thuja, Silesia, my earlier speaker Abhijit wonderfully narrated. But I should mention that Mesoreum also for bad effect of vaccination, and if it is related to cough, and if it is related to whooping cough like cough, if it is related to allergic cough like cough, and if that cough only relief after vomiting, the only one drug in the repertory book, that is the Mesoreum. So think of Mesoreum not only from the bad effect of vaccination, but also when cough relieves only after vomiting, single remedy rubric in the Kent's repertory is Mesoreum. Torula is another. If you are thinking that your anti-IMTAT, Thuja, Silesia, anyone is not coming and or not working, then you can think of Torula as bad effects of vaccination, and multiple immunization or multiple foreign bodies which produce immunization hazard like autoimmunity disorders. You can think of these drugs. Netramarts, one specific point is there, specific modality where bronchitis, especially in children just above 7 years old, and terminates cold and conserves strength and appetite. Very often these remedy is used as a complementary intercurrent remedy after arsenic. So Netramarts after arsenic. These are the keen physical observation from homeopathic point of view. If there is serrated teeth, we think of Mesoreum. You know, the serrated teeth is the serrated teeth of congenital syphilis with all the signs of congenital syphilis, the shiny nose of phosphorus, hairy back of tuberculinum, typical yellow teeth of Lycopodium, Thuja basilinum, large lips, the basilinum, small jaw of Calliope, warts on eyebrows like Thuja. These are all keen physical observation also noted during a respiratory disease approach. CPR, like whooping cough, because we usually don't think about CPR, but just think of Nux vomica. Nux vomica is wonderful drug of whooping cough, and you see the CPR, Nux vomica CPR, recurrent and relapsed cough, which has never gotten better, and whooping cough. So it is the uncommon presentation of the common medicine. Justicia, Dr. Chatterjee was telling about Justicia, and I've seen that Justicia is very much abused by the profession. Just to any productive cough or any type, Justicia mother tincture is very often abused. But think, Dr. Chatterjee rightly told about the constipation, cough aggravated in warm room, change of weather, constipation, Drosera-like cough, and shortness of breath. These are the indications of Justicia. So without indication, just on the basis of any specific, don't give Solanum xanthocarpum, hoarseness with cough aggravation by change of weather, and dust allergy. This is another one, Tuberculinum aviar, the very abused drug during influenza. Whenever it is the time of influenza and these Tuberculinum aviare, even this drug made by our Hahnemann Publishing Co., HAPCO, and also by Suave. So the most good company, pharmaceutical company, they usually they manufacture this drug aviare. It's available, but it is no proving is there. I have seen under one of my most senior, Dr. Juardar, to give aviare whenever he is getting the symptoms of tuberculosis or bacillidum, but the general condition of the patient is very poor, and the patient having some after acute disease type, this time he usually prescribed aviare 30 in a single dose. I have seen very many cases just to start the treatment or as intercurrent aviare, and he always use 30 or 200. But I have not ever seen not a single case to use aviare during influenza, but it can produce the symptoms of very many influenza. Usually we use this aviare for the patients of tuberculinum or bacillidum, but we are apprehending that there may be aggravation. So in that case, we may give aviara. This is my personal observation. Aconitum spherox, in case of shortness of breath, right now, this is the COVID-19 situation is going on. If the government allow us to give simultaneous homeopathic remedy with the modern medicine or individual homeopathic medicine, in very many advanced cases, when patient is in very shortness of breath in the ventilation stage, then we can think of aconitum ferox. Although this chain stroke or chain stroke breathing or dyspnea, this is very commonly found in uremia, in renal failure, and aconitum ferox also applicable to renal failure. We should not bother about the disease, in which disease, but aconitum ferox, this medicine has its ability to produce the symptoms, of this type. So I must conclude here. Only I should go through Aspidosperma. You think of Aspidosperma in case of not only in case of only bronchial asthma related to, think of bronchial asthma in case of left ventricular failure. Whenever it is cardiac asthma, think of Aspidosperma, think of ipecac. That's why ipecac is clean tongue. Ipecac, the wheezing chest, it is not of bronchial asthma, it is of cardiac asthma. Ipecac can be used in all very many respiratory troubles, but also typical indications of ipecac and Aspidosperma in cardiac asthma when left ventricular failure is there. Causticum is also very much important. Dr. Chatterjee told Centuries Contortrix. It is I personally I seen in Dr. Dubey's clinic, and also he advised us whenever you are thinking of arsenic and blata, in between arsenic and blata and also arsenic plus lacases, you think of this drug, it will not fail. Very low potency, 6 potency, not in mother tincture. Centuries Contortrix, very wonderful drug. You can see from Boric. Sina complementary of Drosera in coughs. It is one of the most important. Sina is only not for worm. Sina is the complementary of Drosera in coughs. And Drosera, you think of Drosera not only in whooping cough, you think of Drosera in tuberculosis, you think of that tubercular type of paste, the restlessness in the children with ADHD. So use Drosera also in case of today's autistic babies, in case of autistic attention deficit hyperactive disorders. I must conclude with the Populus candicans, instantaneous voice producers, very effective drug, like Wythia. Instantaneous voice producer, also coca is there. Thank you. If any question, you can you can contact me over email dr.rajatchatterjee@gmail.com. And thank you all for quiet listening. Again, I should convey my thanks to all the higher authorities of Parul universities and all my senior professionals. Thank you for quiet listening.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful time spent with you. Both the speakers have covered a practice of medicine part as well as therapeutic parts in a very short span of time. This will definitely help the audience in applying our homeopathic system, fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic time. The Ministry of Ayush has too much expectation from the Ayush doctors. The homeopathic system is shouldered a big challenge to prove its efficacy. Both the speakers have very well described the role of homeopathy for this current situation, and now it's our duty to act wisely to grab the opportunity and make our system in a frontline one. Before we disperse, let me introduce the final team member of our unit, Dr. Hitarth Mehta sir. He is the principal of Rajkot Homeopathic Medical College, professor in Department of Practice of Medicine, member of BOS at Parul University, and ex-BOS member of Saurashtra University. I request him to give the concluding remark of today's session and do the vote of thanks on behalf of Parul University. Over to Dr. Hitarth sir, please.
Thank you, Purav sir. I will start with the concluding remarks of the webinar. Respected Dr. Abhijit Chattopadhyay sir started his speech with the importance of the coronavirus, how it gets spread. So social distancing is to be maintained by each and every people. Stay home, hand hygiene, which is very important. The mortality takes place is because of the comorbidity, either associated diabetes mellitus or hypertension or pneumonia. Sir, emphasizing what is the importance of the symptoms in order to treat the patient homeopathically, and how to differentiate the symptoms of respiratory system, cough, which is dry or productive, bryonia, natrum sulph. So nicely differentiated different homeopathic remedy, Allium cepa, ammonium carb, Manganum aceticum, Sorainum with its modality and constitutional adaptability. So in nutshell, Dr. Abhijit sir is having great explicit explanation of importance of observation or objective symptoms in order to prescribe the remedy. So thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful session. Respected Dr. Second, our webinar speaker, respected Dr. Rajat Chattopadhyay sir, started with his speech with the scope of homeopathy in respiratory disorders, with classification of respiratory disease, upper respiratory tract infection, which is very common in children, then lower respiratory tract infection, especially pneumonia. Sir nicely explained elaborated discussion focusing on COVID-19, that is pneumonia in detail, then tuberculosis, asthma, bronchiectasis, emphysema. So nicely correlate with the symptoms of the disease with the symptoms of the drugs or medicine. So type of 4 between the human and virus, which will continue. So respected Dr. Rajat sir, emphasizing on knowledge of disease is very important in order to treat the patient. Simultaneously, the knowledge of the symptom, which is very important. And in context with the research methodology perspective, longitudinal study in depth, constitutional study in different source, but we should come up with the proper data. Lastly, COVID-19, the individualization is the best option for every homeopath, as guided by the Ministry of Ayush, Arsenicol 30, which is the best option. So thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful session.
Thank you.
Now I will proceed for the vote of thanks. Firstly, I am thankful to the management of Parul University, President of Dr. Devanshu Patel, sir, Dr. Komal Patel, Madam, Director of Ayush College of Parul University, for ever encouraging us to organize such a program which boosts the teaching process. They have motivated us to set new benchmark in the field of education during the period of lockdown. I am thankful to both the esteemed speakers of today's webinar, Dr. Abhijit sir and Dr. Rajat sir, for sharing their valuable knowledge and experience on respiratory disease and its homeopathic management. I am thankful to our team members, respected Dr. Purav Desai sir, Dean Faculty of Homeopathy, Parul University, Dr. Ina Rawal Madam, Principal of Ahmedabad Homeopathic Medical College, respected Dr. BP Panda sir, Principal of PIHR, for putting well-coordinated effort to conduct this webinar. My heartfelt thanks to all the viewers for their patiently listening, both the speakers. Special thanks to behind the scenes of webinar, Mr. Vijay Acharya sir and Jitan Kubani. Keep participating likewise. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Hitak sir. Please note that the announcement of upcoming webinar, it will be on 13 June 2020 during 1 to 2 p.m. The distinguished speakers will be Dr. Munir Ahmed sir and Dr. Tajwar Khan, and the topic will be threshold concept for case interpretation as prelude to repatriation and homeopathy. Thank you all and stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we all
Namaskar,
are
sir.
now leaving. Thank you all.
We are leaving.
We are leaving. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Leave.
Yes.